stand behind. Nothing in this world could ever bring them down. Yeah, they're invincible, and she's just in the background. And she says, I wish that I could be like the cool kids, 'cause all the
Hey,
cool
bring down the
kids,
music for a
they
second. Get some
stay
breaking news.
within. I wish that I could be like the cool kids.
A terrible thing in China right now. This guy named Wu Bin. He's a bus driver in China.
Yeah.
He's, had a piece of iron fly off of a truck, hit him in the abdomen and the arm, killing him.
Good God.
He's able to stop the bus in time and pull it off to the side, not to kill everybody else as he's dying.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
Covenant collapse.
No kidding. Absolutely ridiculous. Welcome back to the third segment of the Loserville podcast with Nate and Ryan.
Loserville.
That's absolutely right. Talking NFL draft. Start this again.
We're at number 7 with Chicago.
Number 7, the Chicago Bears.
The Bads.
I originally had them taking Kevin White. I thought he'd slip a little bit. Nate took him earlier, the Oakland Raiders. So I'm going to have them take Amari Cooper. I think the Bears need help at wide receiver, getting rid of Brandon Marshall. They need to get somebody in there that has a little bit more speed than someone like Alshon Jeffrey or Brandon Marshall.
Okay.
And I think Amari Cooper can fit that mold. Moving on to number 8, the Atlanta Falcons. That's all you.
Atlanta Falcons. I'm going to have them take right offensive tackle. He'll probably play guard for them. From Iowa, Brandon Scherf. I think Atlanta needs help on the offensive line.
I agree.
You got to keep Matt Ryan standing upright. So I think they go offensive line here. I'm not going to go too far into that because we want to move on here. So I'll just send it to at number 9. New York Giants.
The New York Giants, with the 9th pick in the NFL draft, will take Danny Shelton, nose tackle from Washington. They need some help on the defensive line, and they've had some problems in the past. Jason Pierre-Paul's falling off. They've lost a lot of that talent they had in the late first decade of the 2000s there, where their defensive line really just hasn't been very good. So they need that force in the middle. Danny Shelton's a bit undersized as far as a nose tackle goes, but he can rush the passer. He's also a great run stopper, which you need in the power running NFC East with Dallas and Philadelphia having some great running teams there right now. So I think that's where the Giants will go. Moving on to number 10, the St. Louis Rams.
St. Louis Rams in this particular mock draft will select from Louisville wide receiver Devontae Parker.
You think they're going to take Parker, huh?
The way our mock draft has gone, I think they would.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Either that or TJ Clemens. I think they need help. Well, they need help in a lot of places, but they need offensive weapons. Their wide receiver core is really brutal. I mean,
Right.
To me, they're a team that's definitely looking to take a wide receiver if they can.
Right.
And I think they would be willing to reach a little bit for Devontae Parker here. So, with that, well, I won't go too far into this one either. Just, Devontae Parker, he's definitely he's the third best prospect wide receiver wise in terms of the guys who are predicted to go in the first round, with Kevin White and Amari Cooper being ahead of him. But I think again, St. Louis would be willing to reach here because they do have such a brutal wide receiver core right now. I think they need help. They're bad. So I would predict them going wide receiver and taking Parker. And then number 11, we'll both throw a little something in here, but I'll let you go first. Minnesota Vikings.
With the 11th pick in the 2015 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings will select Trey Waynes, cornerback, Michigan State. With signing Terrence Newman and bringing in a guy that's a real physical corner, I wanted Darqueze Dennard last year. He was the guy that I really, really wanted last year. He didn't end up playing great last year, but I think that the Michigan State corner, the the physical, tall, handsy defender is really what you want in this Mike Zimmer system. We see it with Xavier Rhodes. He plays really, really well. And I think that Trey Waynes is going to be able to bookend that a little bit, where you can put him on the other side, have someone like Captain Munnerlyn in the slot or Josh Robinson in the slot, where they're going to be a little bit better suited to play. So you don't have these small guys on the outside getting picked on. But I think that that's what you're going to see. You're going to see a nice corner being taken, paired with Xavier Rhodes. We're going to have a killer secondary next year, I think.
Yep. Yeah, I would normally I would agree with you, and I think I would like that pick if that does come to fruition. But in this particular mock draft, the way it's gone, the Minnesota Vikings would select from Clemson Vic Beasley.
Yeah.
Vic Beasley from Clemson, big 6'3".
I've made it abundantly clear that I'm not a fan of Vic Beasley.
Well, you may not be a fan of him. That doesn't mean he's not a good player.
And oh man, I'm an Ohio State fan, man. Trust me, I loved Vernon Golston. I loved him, and Vic Beasley strikes me as a Vernon Golston.
Well, we will see. I have trust in Zimmer that Zimmer will be able to use him. I believe.
I trusted Rex Ryan too. Rex Ryan's a great defensive coach, and
that's just stupid.
And he had Vernon Golston. He benched Vernon Golston.
We'll see. I think Zimmer is better than Rex Ryan.
Yeah. Well, we'll move on from draft talk. We will talk. We'll move into the what is likely going to be one of the last segments.
That's mood anyway. Because Vic Beasley's not going to be available at 11 anyway.
Yeah, probably not. But we'll move on to a little state of hockey talk.
Wait, hold on. I got something for him here.
You got something for him?
Yep.
I'm glad you do. I was looking to see if you did. This is such a great song. This song gives me chills every time I hear it.
We cut our teeth.
Oh God, he's singing. Oh God.
I'm not gonna sing.
Oh God.
I'm not gonna ruin it.
Oh my God.
Let's just listen and appreciate for a second here.
Oh yeah.
This makes me want to cry just a little bit, doesn't it?
It gives you goosebumps every time, right? Right. He's singing again. And we can't start talking about the Minnesota Wild without talking about our best asset, our 40 double D, Devin Dubnyk, just crushing it.
Yeah.
This is the best team in the NHL right now.
Wait, hold on. Big finish.
Big finish? It's such a great song.
Let's play.
Let's freaking play. Oh,
Dubnyk,
God, I love this team.
Parisi, Suter.
Let's go. I love this team. I really love this team.
We're gonna wax nostalgic.
We're gonna wax nostalgic about it right now. That's absolutely right.
Let's talk some actual hockey though. Let's talk Minnesota Wild. The line depth we have rolling right now.
Yeah.
Let's just.
Where do you put Zucker when he comes back? I have nowhere to put him.
That's that's why I wanted to start talking about this, because Matt Cook and Jason Zucker are two players who were regular starters at the beginning of the season. And Zucker was having a great year before he got hurt. Let's not forget that. 18 goals this year. And these guys are going to come back at some point, possibly before the playoffs. Now, Zucker is on a 3-month timetable that puts him at May 7th to come back. But the timeline has apparently been accelerated. We don't know to what extent, and he's got another X-ray coming up. He won't be able to play. He says he feels good, but he won't be able to play until doctors clear him, structurally with the bone and everything healing properly for contact.
Just tape it up. Just duct tape it and let's go.
Well, if this was the old NHL, he'd probably been playing about a month ago. So
yeah, that's true.
But, you want to be careful. You don't want him to go out there and get hurt again, obviously. But just talking about the depth we have right now, it's going to be an absolute logjam at forward when Zucker and Cook come back.
Yeah.
I mean, you already have Bergenheim out right now. And,
Well, he wasn't doing anything anyway.
well, yeah.
Chris Stewart's. We've gotten good Chris Stewart the first few weeks he's been here.
Yeah.
He's done pretty well. Obviously, you can't say enough about Devin Dubnyk. You can't say enough about a guy like Ryan Carter coming back, who's played very, very well this year when he's been healthy.
Yeah.
We've got a team that can score. I heard a stat today. It was on the Power Trip Morning Show. They were talking with the goal differential for the Wild right now since the All-Star break. They're plus 47 in goal differential.
Do you have a pen over there?
I do not.
Yeah, maybe this one will work.
Maybe. We got to start being more prepared for this
I
show.
know. At least we didn't go total common man on the bit this time around.
That's true. We usually do. We end up rambling and fighting about stuff. You're about 4 beers in by the end of the show.
Yeah, I'm only 2 in
But
right now.
that's true. I'm not.
I'm going to try to put together some line combinations, and I'm totally spitballing here.
Well, I got to go Gremlin, Parisi, Pominville.
Yeah, I think that is your first line for sure. To me, Granlund has been a guy who I've been a little bit disappointed with this year.
Yeah, but even at the later part of this year, you can see him starting to kind of become that more of a playmaker.
Yep.
Especially when he plays with shooters like Parisi and Pominville who can make shots happen. Where Granlund, he just does so well getting the defenders off of himself. Where he's a guy who I think could be a real threat at playmaker in the center position for the Wild, especially if a guy like Pominville heats up and that first line can score. We have a third line that has been scoring. Zucker comes back and he can play on that line with Koivu and Stewart, like I see you're writing right now. And Vanek's been hot. I think he's got he's over 20 goals now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's at exactly 20 right now.
And it's for a guy like Vanek, who everybody's been kind of ragging on this year. That's pretty good. And you've got a fourth line that can, when it gets hot, can step up.
Yeah.
Hala hasn't been great this year, but if he's anything like he was in the playoffs last year, toward the end of the season, I think that Eric Hala can carry that fourth line. Obviously, Justin Fontaine's a guy who can shoot really from anywhere on the ice. And getting Zucker back, pairing him with a guy like Koivu and Stewart, like I was saying, I think that you have the combination of the grinder in Stewart who can score, and you have a guy like Zucker who can speed up the ice. I really think that benefits the Wild greatly.
Not bad hockey takes from casual hockey guy over here.
And you look at how great the Wild defense has been, especially since Dubnyk has come in. The confidence that they've had playing in their own zone when there's pressure put on them, even early or late in games when they've had problems earlier this year. Dubnyk can save a game for sure, but the problem in his career is he hasn't played with guys that can defend.
He's played with really bad teams.
Exactly. You play with Phoenix, you play with Edmonton. These aren't teams that have great defenders.
Yeah.
And you put him on a team that has active defense, guys like Suter and Brodin, who's played out of his mind this year. You have guys like that step up and play in big spots, especially Jonas Brodin.
Yeah.
He's done really, really well this year, especially getting guys off the puck, clearing the zone, getting it up to a guy like Granlund who can pass it around in the opponent's offensive zone. So
I have some line combinations written up here that I just did really quick off the top of my head, so I don't know. But this is just for let's just say Zucker and Cook come back by playoff time. I have a first line of Granlund centering Parisi and Palmer. I think you keep that one the same.
Yep.
They have good chemistry together. They create good chances. They're a little bit small,
but they're fast as hell.
But they're fast, and they're great. All of them are really great playmakers, and Parisi and Palmerville can really score. Second line, I have Koivu. This one was a little bit difficult because Koivu right now is centering Stewart and Nino, and they're playing really well together. But I think when Zucker comes back, he's going to take that wing spot over Nino. So I have Koivu centering Zucker and Stewart on the second line. And then I have Coyle centering Vanek and Niederreiter on the third line.
Sure.
And this one was also tough because Fontaine and Vanek have had such great chemistry. But I don't know how you take Nino from second line and put him all the way down on the fourth line the way he's been playing recently.
Right.
So, obviously subject to change because I think the Wild are at a point right now where, first line and second line are really almost 1A, 1B.
Right.
And then the third line is more of a second line, and the fourth line could almost be a third line,
Well, if it were me, just looking at the way you've read it, and I agree on a lot of the points, but I would switch Nino and Stewart. I think Zucker and Nino have proven that they have pretty good chemistry on the ice, and Koivu is experienced enough that he could work with almost anybody. But it gives you a little bit of a size advantage with a good shooter in Vanek on the third line. If you put Stewart and Coyle there, you can crash the net a little bit better with those big guys. I wish Coyle would be more active in that regard. He's not done much with that this year as far as crashing the net. But we need that line that can do that can get up close and play that way. We haven't had much of that. We've had a lot of guys taking shots from the slot.
Oh, see, that was my thought process, too, on putting Nino on the third line, because those are all big-bodied guys.
Right.
Nino's been playing a lot better with his size recently.
Sure.
As has Vanek, and obviously Coyle has the capability to throw people around, too.
Right.
And he's really good at controlling the puck and protecting it along the boards.
Right.
And then I love Stewart on the second line because of the chemistry he's developed with Koivu. And I think his size and his physicality is going to clear a lot of room for Zucker and his speed.
Oh, yeah.
And Zucker getting in open ice with his speed and the hands he's got and the shot he's got, I think he could be an absolute weapon on that second line.
I agree. The other thing that I might think about doing is switching Fontaine and Stewart, just because I think Fontaine needs a little bit more of an experienced centerman, and I don't think Haula can get him the puck quite as well as Koivu could.
I have Fontaine. First of all, Stewart's not going to play fourth line minutes. It's just not going to happen. But the reason I have Fontaine on that fourth line is because I have Haula there right now.
Sure.
And Haula could come out for a Carter or a Cook possibly. But I think because he showed in the playoffs last year he can be a contributor and he can play a good role if he can get his speed moving and get that confidence back. So I have him playing with Fontaine because he and Haula have shown that they have great chemistry, and Brodziak in there because he's an unbelievable penalty killer. Defensive pairings real quick. I have Suter and Brodin. That's an obvious one.
Mm-hmm.
Scandell and Spurgeon also pretty obvious. And then I have Dumba, who has just been an absolute force for the Wild lately.
Oh, yeah.
Really stepping up and coming into his own as an NHL player. And then I have Prosser taking the place of Leopold right now. Prosser should be back by playoffs. And I really liked, I've been a big Prosser, critic. But I like the way he's played this year. He's been really good on the penalty kill. He's been reliable for the most part. He's not going to light up the scoreboard at all. But on a pairing with Dumba, who's a kid who likes to step up into the play more, he'll be a reliable defensive defenseman who can stay back, and he's not going to hurt you defensively as much. At least the way he had been playing. Of course, if he doesn't play well, you can always replace him with Leopold or Folan, who have shown to be incredibly effective this year as well.
Honestly, I'm not going to doubt you because obviously you're the pro here, being Mr. Hockey Writer. But just casual hockey guy, I'm not a fan of Nate Prosser. I'm really not. I think he's slow. I think he doesn't do great work. Certainly not as well as a guy like Jordan Leopold. So I would probably switch that personally, but. The way he's playing, you could probably stick anybody in front of Dubnyk right now and he'd do fine. But, I like the lines a lot. What you've got there, I think.
It's a nice problem to have to try and figure out these lines with the depth we have. That kind of segues into a point I wanted to make about how a lot of people are trying to figure out, who are the Wild going to play in the first round of the playoffs? Who do we want to play? Are we going to try to avoid St. Louis and Anaheim because they're big bruising teams? For me, it's like, who wants to play us right now?
Right.
I mean, look at the depth we have going on right now.
Yep.
And I'm actually writing an article on this right now about, getting more of a mentality, of, instead of trying to, prepare for matchups against, certain teams who we think we'd match up well against. It's like, who wants to play us right now? The way we're playing, too, with the depth of the forwards we have and the defense we have right now, and obviously with Dubnyk playing as well as he is, I mean, who wants to play us right now? I mean, we're just on a roll right now. And
we've got a good test on Thursday here to see where we're at.
Yeah, it was a good test.
The New York Rangers come to town, or we go to them? I think they come to town.
They come to town. We're on a 5-game homestand right now.
Okay, so we've got the New York Rangers this Thursday. I like the matchup.
We have Rangers,
Red Wings,
and then back-to-back Jets in Chicago, and then we'll finish up with Nashville.
But the Jets come here, right?
Jets come here.
I like that match.
We're on the road against Chicago, Nashville, and then St. Louis to finish the season.
Sure. And honestly, here's the thing. If we sit where we're at right now, we'd play Nashville.
Yep.
Right? The playoffs started today.
Yep.
I think that obviously that's in my opinion, that's advantage Wild. We've dominated Nashville this year.
Yeah. Well, I just think from a depth perspective, and I hate to be redundant about it, but Nashville does not have the depth that Minnesota has. They have one really good defensive pairing, and obviously they have Forsberg on the front end, who's a dynamic.
And they've got a goalie who can take over a game.
Yeah, and they have Rene, but the Wild have shown that they know they can beat Rene on a regular basis. So I'm not so worried about that. I think obviously he has to be accounted for. He's a great goaltender, no doubt about it. But I'm not going to sell the Wild short on goaltending.
Sure.
Because I think Dubnyk's equally as good, if not better, and he's shown that in a couple of games against them.
Yeah. Like I said, Thursday I think is probably our best test. I want to see how they play against a truly top tier guy like Lundqvist.
Yeah. He had a bad outing, and he's just coming back from that injury.
Yeah.
We'll see if he plays or if they're going to put in Talbot or not. I don't know.
That's true. I honestly, if I could see the Wild against Carey Price right now, I'd want to see it.
Yeah.
But
well, the Rangers right now are just talking about our matchup coming up. They are absolutely on fire right now. They're probably going to win the President's Trophy of Anaheim if they can beat out Anaheim for it. They're a very good team, so it's going to be a good test. It's going to be interesting to see how we do off of 4 days, if we have tired legs or kind of heavy legs after not playing for a while, or if they come out hot because they've been well rested.
Sure.
And then I'm also interested to see how Dubnyk does with that rest. He's been so hot lately, playing back-to-backs and 2 games every 3 nights, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. They're 1-1 in their 4 games in the 2 times this season where they've had 4 days between games. We'll see. But, going forward, obviously you got to like the playoff chances. They're going to get in. It's just a matter of where they're going to be. What else we got here? Oh, other potential playoff matchups. St. Louis is a potential playoff matchup.
Yep.
And I'm not nearly as scared of St. Louis as I was before. Not just because we beat them a couple times, because we were obviously vastly outplayed in the first game, but I think, the thing with St. Louis is you got to get good goaltending against them, and you got to play defensively structured because they're really good at controlling the puck.
Right.
The Wild has both those. And when you can get into the zone against St. Louis and control it for a little while and get some shots on net, no offense to Brian Elliott, but they have really very average goaltending at best.
Right.
I think the goaltending is a huge question for them. And it's been covered up largely by the fact that they have a great defensive core and they play with the puck so often, you hardly ever see the goaltenders get really tested. But if the Wild can get into the zone and test Elliott like they did, the last game they played him, scoring 6 goals against St. Louis, St. Louis is a beatable team. And I also like the fact, for the Wild's sake, that St. Louis, they've struggled in the playoffs, and they're struggling now. They've lost back-to-back games, and they're a team that's struggled in the playoffs, to get past that first round recently. So,
well, and if there was ever a year for the Wild to step up, and the point
I have to make that jump eventually.
The point I was making about playing Nashville is we played the division champion last year. we beat the division champion.
Yeah.
I think if it's Chicago and St. Louis, I give the advantage to Chicago. I think they're probably the better team.
Yeah.
So we could see another year of Wild Chicago in the second round.
Yeah,
and this year, I think I give the advantage to the Wild this year.
Yeah.
If Dubnik can keep up the pace.
I'd like to see another matchup like that.
Yeah, I agree.
5 minutes here left. Another possible playoff matchup is Anaheim. Anaheim's kind of the wild card for me because the Wild have outplayed Anaheim, it seems like, in every game so far this year.
Yeah.
But yet they've lost by 1 goal. So, Anaheim always seems to have that extra little jolt at the end with the skill players that they have to win the game
Right.
by 1 goal. So, I don't know. For me, optimist guy in me says, law of averages is going to even out and we're going to win these games eventually. But, again, another team that to me, they've had sporadic goaltending. Frederick Anderson and John Gibson have kind of split time, with Anderson getting more of the playing time. They've shown that they can be really good, but at the same time, it's still a question mark because they've shown flashes of being not really good at all as well. So it's kind of been almost a Kemper type situation. Both young guys who've shown they can be really good, but also at times have been really quite bad.
Sure.
So that to me is an interesting matchup, also because Anaheim's a big team, and they do have Corey Perry and Ryan Getzlaf, who are absolute superstars and seem to kill the Wild every time. But just I don't know. I like the Wild chances against anybody right now the way they're playing. I just want to see them finish off the regular season well and win 4 or 5 of the 6 remaining games and go in hot, because I think that's what it's really about in the playoffs is going in hot and playing your best hockey of the year. So, overall, I like the Wild's chances. I would really like to, with the way the playoffs are set up now, the interesting thing could be is if they play Anaheim, if they get past Anaheim, and let's say the LA Kings don't make it, let's say Calgary makes it, they would end up playing in the second round, Vancouver or Calgary if they made it past Anaheim in that Pacific Division, which could be a lot more favorable than, say, playing Nashville and beating them first round and then either having to play St. Louis or Chicago, a couple powerhouses in the second round.
Yeah.
So, I think the team...
I think if we can beat one of the powerhouses this year, I think it bodes really, really well for us.
Well, again, and I kind of mentioned that just a little bit ago about how the Wild, eventually to get where they want to be, they're going to have to make that jump into the elite status and beat a Chicago or a St. Louis or an Anaheim or something like that. They're going to have to do that to be, taken seriously, basically.
Could you imagine the pandemonium of the state if they won the Cup?
Oh, man. It would be... I mean, you can't even really compare it to anything that's ever happened here.
Right.
We've
been without a pro sports championship since what? 91?
Twins, yeah.
And that's over 20 years ago.
Yeah. The Twins...
We are due, ladies and gentlemen.
The enthusiasm for the Wild right now...
We are due.
The enthusiasm for the Wild right now is just way beyond what the Twins have.
Nationwide especially.
Yeah.
It's not just in Minnesota. We've got a lot of nationwide momentum saying, the Wild are the best team right now.
Yeah. Well, they've been playing the best hockey right now. So
yeah.
That's going to about do it for us, I guess. Last point on the Wild, I just think, again, it's fans need to worry a lot less about who we're going to play in the first round and just worry about playing good hockey the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Let that be the gauge. Don't say, if we end up playing St. Louis, don't be like, well, it's over now. To me, it's more about worrying about how we're playing going out for the rest of the season, and I want to see the Wild really come out strong on Thursday.
I agree. We missed the Andre DeVoe story. We'll get to that next time.
Yeah.
But this is it for us. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, this podcast brought to you by Midwest College Hockey. Visit us on Facebook. Find us on Twitter when we put that up. Get some updates for us when we get the website going.
Yeah.
Again, Midwest College Hockey. I'm Ryan Nelson. This is Nate Bauer. This is the Loserville podcast. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for listening, guys.